Next, keynote will be delivered by a Director of New and Renewable Energy Division, Energy Conservation and Renewable Energy Department, Mr. Masaki Higurashi. Over to you, Mr. Higurashi. Well, thank you very much for your kind introduction. I am from Energy Agency. I am Higurashi, Director New and Renewable Energy Division. In light of this 50 years anniversary of Sunshine Project, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to deliver a keynote. I am most honored. So today, in light of a Sunshine Project, there are 4 pillars, solar and offshore wind power generation. I'd like to focus on these 2 sources, and I would like to cover some latest topics with you today. So first and foremost, in regards to carbon neutrality, this is a trend that is across the globe because of the global warming and other crises. This is something we cannot avoid as a challenge. And on a global basis, many countries have committed to carbon neutrality already. And Japan, in 2020, during Prime Minister Suga's premiership, Japan also made a commitment to work towards carbon neutrality. And as policies towards this goal, Japan has been making a progress. Currently, this is Japan's energy situation. In 2030, energy mix objective has been set, and in regards to renewables, 36 to 38% is a target for 2030. That is the renewables ratio of all power sources, and towards this objective for all the power sources, we are going to maximize them. That is the policy under which we are making efforts. And as of 2011, renewables ratio proportion stood at 10.4%, but because of the FIT system being launched, this ratio kept growing, and the current number is 21.7% as of 2022. So as for these renewables, as part of the GX, green transformation, there are policies and basic energy program, which is in its 6th edition today as a primary power source. We are now trying to maximize our efforts without slowing down. That is the policy has been announced by the government. The public facilities introduction, and if it's offshore power generation, including the EEZ, we are going to develop the environment. And in Japan, system development and so forth, include from Hokkaido, we would like to have a DC ocean flow connection, and then PV perovskite should be put into practice as soon as possible, and the government will continue its support. And above all, renewables facilities, without relying on certain countries in terms of supply chains. We'd like to make the supply chains more resilient, and stable supply of energy, resilient supply structure are what we are working towards, and then we try to build domestic supply chains, and we are making efforts to this end. So today, I'd like to spend some time reflecting on the history. So far in 1974, there was a Sunshine Project launch, and ever since, focusing on solar power for housing. Solar power subsidies started in 1997. The government worked on this scheme, and then this was really a leading edge in the world at the time. And then in mid-2000s, 50.4% was the global share that Japan attained. We reached this milestone, and then since then we've introduced a FIT system and accumulated various policies. And at this point in time, Japan's production share is 0.1%. Now, Using some data points, this is a visualization of that situation, not just Japan, but also from 2000, Japan, US, Germany, all of a sudden started losing their shares, and then PV modules explosively are expanding at this point. But as for facilities, Japan's share is only 1%. Also, raw materials, silicon. The raw material supply chain also relies on a certain set of countries. And today, we cannot deep dive too much. But against this backdrop, in this as part of this background for both the public and private sides, there are some lessons we need to have learned. On the side of the government, within a country, domestic environment predictability was not strongly demonstrated. So there was no policy backup to visualize or clarify the demand. On the side of a private sector, the global market was growing, but capex or production capacity building were not enough investment was not made on the side of the private sector. And then in regards to supply chains, for silicon or certain raw material, the supply chain was not resilient enough. In terms of technology, of course, Japan back then and today is superior, but the technology capability and commercial viability were not taken care of. About winning in business, maybe Japan didn't do enough. And in terms of technology and human resources, did Japan have enough resources or structure in place? There are many lessons we need to learn from our history up to this point. In the following sessions today, there is a session that is featuring about the future of renewables and so on. On the sides of both the public and private sectors, such past experiences should be fully taken into account, and we should do enough soul searching, and then we would like to make future-oriented efforts from this point on. Across the globe, there are all sorts of GX initiatives taking place. So, for example, in the US, there is Inflation Reduction Act. On the side of the EU, there is a green industry planning or policy, and they're making efforts on the policy front quite powerfully. Various countries are now working towards carbon neutrality, providing all sorts of policy support. And as the government of Japan, necessary scale and speed should be achieved, so we'd like to make efforts to this end. Now, towards the future, I would like to have some topics. And then the current solar power generation area, Japan's solar power compared with Germany is twice the size. So flat land, we don't have too much optimum land anymore for this purpose. And along with the expansion of solar introduction, there are some challenges in terms of existing with the local community and so on. But towards carbon neutrality, including solar power generation, it is necessary to expand introduction to a great deal. So we have to overcome these challenges and expand solar renewables. So next generation solar power is so promising, and we have high hopes for this power source. So far, installation has been difficult on the walls or low load roofs and so forth. There will be new potential of installation of solar power. So in that sense, it is very promising. But at the same time, key raw materials, elements, yielding, Japan accounts for 30%. So resilient supply chain building is something Japan can make contributions to in our thinking. In terms of technology, currently international development competition is taking place, and Japan is really in the top league in terms of technology development in the world, especially in regards to film, sealing, type barrel, Skype, solar power batteries is one area where Japan is a pioneer. At the same time, technology supremacy and industry or commercial viability, or can Japan lead the facilities in the world? It is not a sufficient condition. All these are not just enough. So on the side of businesses, I believe, for example, supported by NEDO and AIST, businesses accumulating their efforts one by one. For example, Sekisui Chemical is a company. In FY 2025, they are trying to commercialize this one.
Panasonic and Enecore Technologies, which is a startup from the Kyoto University, are working on verification exploration toward commercialization. As a government of Japan, for the establishment of the mass production technology is something we're working on, or from utilizing a green innovation fund or a GX supply chain subsidiary, and for the creation of the demand for the perovskite next generation battery, there is a implementation target. So with the fit and FIP support, we have a specified category being discussed for promotion of the perovskite. And with regards to the social implementation of the perovskite, the work by many stakeholders, both in private sector and public sector, are essential. So based on the lesson learned from the past, and based on that, by collecting the wisdom from different sectors, we like to address different issues. One thing is to create a initial demand and accelerate the R&D and securing of the investments. The comprehensive approach is thought to be taken. And next generation photovoltaics strategy is conceived of being developed in the coming fall, which is the timing to mark the 50th anniversary of the Symposium project, and also is the timing to revise or review the energy basic plan. So with that, with regards to the next generation PV photovoltaic, we'd like to come up with a broad picture or big picture as a collaborative effort outcome between private and public sectors. And with regards to the solar power generation, there are also a negative side which are getting attention, and we need to address them. And there are issues in terms of the coexistence with communities. There are troubles with some of the communities. Inappropriate development projects, there should be a strengthened discipline, and we are to face in a rigorous manner. From that perspective, this April, the Renewable Energy Special Act was enacted after the revision, and for the inappropriate projects which are not in compliance with the regulation, the subsidy will be suspended. And also, there will be a requirement for the communication with the local community in advance of the projects. So that is now a new rule under the revised law. And also, while I'm not going to go into the detail, but the waste and the recycling of the panels is also a very important issue, as we see. From the mid-2030s, the large volume of the waste is expected to be generated. There are many estimates, but with regards to the capacity of current final disposal facility, at least 5 to 6% is expected to be used for the waste from the solar panel. From the perspective of the effective use of resource, and also to preserve the capacity for the final deposition sites, we need to come up with the appropriate policy, which also to do with the strong division. And so there will be institutional policy to be taken, inclusive of potentially mandating green operators to take appropriate measure. Now, I'd like to also talk about the wind power. In 2030, I'm sorry, this slide is rather busy, but the 5.7 gigawatt is a target for 2030. For about the 4.7 projects are now being planned for a promising area and such, and we are to further solicit the candidate for the promising sea area, and so we can come close to or achieve the 5.7 gigawatt target toward carbon neutrality in 2050. Offshore wind power is going to be a key solution. But as of now, in those promotion area or the promising area, and also with the preparation area, the projects in those area, even the total will be 10 gigawatt. But 30 to 45 gigawatt is now the target for the project's capacity by 2040. But at this moment, there's only 10 gigawatt in the pipeline. So the floating offshore power generation or the projects to take place in EEZ are going to be important elements for achieving our target. And for that purpose, for the floating offshore power, in order to promote a project formulation, there will be an institutional aspect of the policy to be taken. At this date, we have submitted the bill so that the project can be possible in the EEZ. And also there are many technological challenges existing. And Japan has the 6th largest EEZ in the world. So we'd like to leverage that, and we're working on demonstration projects. And in terms of the industry, Japan has a shipbuilding technology, and also we have a many elemental technology relevant for turbines, and we will work on the human capital development as well. And by shifting from a bottom fixed to the floating, there need to be a game-changing situation to be realized in technology. So we are to work on the human resource development for the purpose of technology development as well. And the act on promoting the utilization of the area for renewable development is planned to be amended, and this is getting attention. The amendment is to open the way for utilizing EEZ. And by utilizing the potential that we can exercise economic sovereignty over EEZ under the international treaty, we like to promote our efforts. And then, as a central method, with the help from JOGMEC in their survey activity, we are now trying to find appropriate sea areas with the central government taking proactive efforts so that the data and information can be provided to private sector players. And now we are making preparation to see that happening. And in promoting floating offshore wind power generation, there needs to be a establishment of supply chain. And to establish a domestic establishment, we are utilizing a supply chain subsidies and other means. And not limited to floating, there are many projects to develop supply chain for offshore wind power. NASA for turbine, the permanent magnet is important, and the SEP vessel, and the jacket, monopile, and the human resource for operation. They need to be in existence in Japan to a supply chain, and that is going to be an important pillar of our efforts going forward. And with regards to demonstration or verification for the offshore wind power, targeting 4 sea areas, we solicited the projects. Akita Prefecture, 2 areas from those prefectures were selected. And currently, in the world, there are small projects underway, But when it comes to large-scale projects, it's still limited, and we like to establish technology for large-scale floating offshore wind generation in Japan so that we can lead in the area. And international collaboration is also important in this endeavor. Today, there will be a event to celebrate the establishment of FLORA. Technological standards if we worked on, working with the general contractors and marine contractor and other manufacturers. And also we are to work with international players in the endeavor to establish an R&D structure. And also we are to work with the technical college students for the purpose of HRD development.
From our side, and then including O&M to support infrastructure, we'd like to work on human resources development as part of our policy. Prime Minister Kishida, towards the carbon neutrality, in 2024, towards the revision of the energy basic program, he said he would be advancing discussions, and towards the 2024, he will work on GX national strategy. He has made an announcement to this end. So in light of this 50th anniversary of Sunshine project, this commemorative timing, eyeing the next 50 years, GX and renewables expansion and industry policy will be advanced. Thank you very much.
NEDO